Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And currently, what I'm doing is looking at natural law violations by individuals, myself, in hopes that others will be able to identify and bring it home. Because just pointing the finger at the dark occult Luciferians who are running the world and destroying it through order followers. And if you're an order follower, you know who you are, is one thing, but we have to look at ourselves as well. And in the system that we're in right now, it's pretty hard not to violate natural law. I got to be honest. Um, so I did just take a bunch of notes this week, and I'm just going to read them and comment on my experience with this stuff. Um, so again, the natural law violations are murder, assault, trespass, rape, coercion, theft, and deception. And it's all theft, okay? All natural law violations are a form of theft, but it's difficult when you're swimming in a sea of theft to recognize what that means. So, murder is theft of life, assault is a theft of bodily uh, safety. Trespass is theft of um, the right of your property, not allowing others to take your property. Rape is theft of sexual space. Coercion is theft of truth. And deception is also a form of theft of truth, but by aggressive means, like by stealing by or lying by omission or commission, meaning omitting the truth or committing a lie. So, one thing, first of all, that came to my mind was by paying taxes, you are funding murder. Taxation is voluntary. You can look that up. It's in the code. You just don't file a 1040 and then you're not renewing your yearly contract, but you also can't take advantage of any social services then, except for Social Security, which is your own money that they took out of your check when you were working and you didn't realize what was happening back then in the old days. But, using Medicaid or any other social services puts you back in their system. So you can't have it both ways. You're either in the agora or you're in their system. And it's getting harder and harder because of the 14th Amendment, which we'll go into later. I'm going to mention the 14th Amendment later briefly, but you can look it up yourself. So the IRS is the International Monetary Fund, and they skim off of our labor. That's what taxation is. It doesn't pay for services like we all believe. You can look into it. I'm not going to get into this right now, but it's all available on the internet. You can find this out for yourself. Also, if do you have investments? Are you invested in the stock market, or do you have like a pension that's invested? Do you know what the investments are in? Are you invested in companies whose behavior is murdering others or stealing from other sentient beings? Do you know what your investments are in? Because the most lucrative investments are in dishonorable companies. I have experience with this personally because I did have money at one time and I had a broker and I asked for what did they call it now? Socially something or other investments, and they didn't end up paying anything hardly, because that's how our system runs. It runs on theft and slavery. Um, So extreme self-centeredness is a form of coercion. I'm going to get into that statement in a few here. It's gonna become revealed. Oh, and service. Okay, so service is where you help. You're trying to be helpful to other people. Okay, but you don't get paid money for service. So I had this experience this week where I didn't have a car available to me, and so a few friends offered to help me out, but they expected gas money. I mean, I offered gas money. I've offered it, but it was for something that is generally thought upon to be service work, and they asked me for money for their quote unquote service. And I gave it to them, but whatever. The universe pays you back for service, but if you do a thing to get something in return, this is a form of coercion because service, okay, let's look for a moment at the military. When the military is considered service, that is such bullshit right there, okay? That the service, it's such a lie. The military are paid thugs. They lose their right, their rights to morality when they enter the service, the quote unquote service. It's not service at all. It's slavery. And then they are the paid thugs of I mean, they're not paid. Well, I mean, they're paid in that they get MREs, fucking horrible food. And then they have to break their backs for the elite through the government military. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. But that's not service. Let me tell you right now, that's a total lie. And that's part of the subversion, the satanic subversion of using that word service to describe what the military does. They're like the lowly minion of the mafia lords that go out and shoot people in the dark. And you call that service. Thank you for your service at protecting freedom. I mean, what a bunch of crap, guys. Really? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you cannot gain freedom by bloodshed. It just doesn't work. Yes, you have to stand up. Like I do have to stand up against tyranny and a violent assault upon my person, no, I don't even want to use the word person, upon my living soul. The word person, you got to go look that one up in Black's Law Dictionary, like fourth edition or fifth edition, so you can figure out what the definition of the word person is. But a violent assault on my living soul body, I do need to stand up against that. And if blood is shed as a result of that, that is my right. But my violent assault upon others, either through my funding of it, through investments, or my actual physical violent assault initiated myself, is a violation of natural law. So these days, if you give, you have to make sure that you're giving for the right reasons. If someone needs a ride, give them a ride. I don't ask for gas money. And if they offer, I usually decline, unless it's like a really long distance that we're both traveling together for a purpose, then I would accept gas money. If someone needs help cleaning their garage, I help them and I don't offer any suggestions unless they ask me. And I'm basically like just using this as a analogy. Like if someone asks you for help doing something and you offer to help them, that does not give me or the person like who's helping the right to try to run the show. The person who asks for help has a way that they want things done unless they specifically ask for suggestions. And so it's a form of coercion if I offer my help and then try to run the show, because then I'm basically stealing back my offer. That's a form of theft. And you can apply this to so many things, really. It's a form of deception because I'm omitting the truth. My real purpose was to feel better about myself because I have such great ideas or whatever. And then I get to brag about it to other people. I mean, anonymous acts of service. If I do an act of service for someone, then I don't get to brag about how I did that to others and expect it to be rewarded. Anonymous acts of service are rewarded by the universe, natural law. Okay, porn, which a lot of people are watching porn. I know it. I know they are. It's rape. Okay, that's because the people who act in that industry are all sexual abuse survivors because no one would allow all their orifices to be stuffed full of something painful, something big at one time, except someone who had been abused as a kid, violated in the formative years between ages brain development time 0 to 7. Those are the people that are in that industry. So if you watch it, you're complicit in the violent act. Children are children from age 0 to 18. They're not supposed to be making adult decisions about their lives or be violated in any way, violence or sexually. And the result of that is twisted lives. They have twisted lives. So then my watching them participate in the effects of their twisted life is I'm basically being complicit in that. And I'm basically giving credibility to those dark forces. There's larvae on the astral plane. You can look into that. Feeding off of human passions. Loosh. I'm sure you've heard of it. You guys get to research everything I talk about. I don't have to justify any of the stuff I talk about here. You can look it up yourself and draw your own conclusions. I'm just putting stuff out there for people to think about and look into. Watching pedophile actors also makes you complicit in their actions because of the observer affects the observed. That's that double slit experiment that proves that when I watch something, even if I'm watching, this is a huge topic that each person ought to think about, especially if you're like a binge watcher, if that's how you relax is by binge watching shows on whatever channel. I do that. I binge watch stuff, so I know about this. I mean, I was raised on TV. When I got home from school, I would eat like a box of Oreos and watch whatever was on TV. So that's one way that I relax. I give my brain over to shows. So I know that I'm complicit in pedophile actors because I give them credibility when I watch them. And I'm sure most of them, anybody who's famous at this point, really famous and makes a lot of money, has that, a snuff film in their history or they're pedos. It's just the way it is. So you can look that up if you don't really already know that. Buying products from slaves validates the slave trade. We are all slaves now because of the 14th Amendment. And you have to look that up, how the 14th Amendment was not passed by Congress. It was pushed through and what it actually is. I'm not getting into it, but it's all out there. You can look it up. Okay, so then this has to do with the self-centeredness being a form of coercion. Reacting to someone's bad behavior is a form of self-centeredness. So, yeah, this is hard work, okay? This is very hard work to get to a point where you don't take somebody's bad behavior personally, where you know within yourself that you're fine, that you're doing the right thing, and you're trying to be helpful, and somebody is behaving badly, and it's not your problem. It's their problem because they are in pain and they don't know how to deal with their own pain, so they take it out on other people. Well, it's up to the person who's it's being taken out on to not take it, to just not respond to that. Because if you respond to bad behavior, then you're taking it on as valid. This is an interchange of coercion and deception, where the person who is on the receiving end of bad behavior takes the bad behavior and reacts to it. This is spiritual growth, that each person must learn how to not react to bad behavior. I mean, yeah, sure. If somebody that you're close to is behaving badly, you can definitely decide that you don't want to hang out with them until they get their shit together. And that's basically what to do. You just refuse to be around that person. Or if you're trapped in a car with them, you just be quiet. You don't say anything to them. You just let them have their little fit, and you just don't allow them to coerce you into believing that it's real, that it's really your problem. Um, the thing is people cannot get other people to do what they want because of free will. You, if you expect someone to behave a certain way, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how much it seems like it's real or whatever, or rational to you, that's you trying to force your will on someone else, which is enslavement. Everyone has to be able to be free to experience their own crazy asshole behavior and learn how to contain it when in the presence of others. And the others have to learn how to deflect it, not take it in, and not react to it, because they expect that, say you're hanging out with your partner or whatever, and they're in a bad mood, and you expected them to be in a good mood, and you try to get them to be in a good mood. That's coercion. You're trying to force your will on someone else. Not good, man. Not good. We have to learn to practice live and let live. Um, and sure, like if someone's in a bad mood all the time, you may decide that you don't want them around anymore. But you can't try to force them into being in a good mood and treating you a certain way. That is total coercion. Um, spiritually getting yourself to a place where you do not need other people for validation, because needing other people for validation is a form of theft. Like if you grew up in a traumatized, where you're traumatized, it's likely you don't have a self, an inner self, and so you're hanging around with other people as a reflection, to reflect yourself back to yourself. That's a form of theft. You have to recover from your trauma so that you're standing. I always think of trees, like trees. I use trees as an example. Like I don't get to, if I was a tree, I couldn't move across the country to avoid something. Trees just have to put up with whatever is brought on to them, and they just have to continue to try to grow towards the light and retrieve prana from the air and nutrition from the soil, and they communicate through their roots to other trees and other life forms. But they don't get to run away, and they have to just keep growing. And that's what I aspire to be like. I try to aspire to be like other more natural forms like trees. All right, let's see if there's anything else here. Um, oh yeah, here's one more thing. Are you kind and loving towards all, even in your mind? Like, how do you think about people when they're not there? Do you find yourself when you're by yourself ever ripping someone? This is like a huge and very important thing to learn how to tame the monkey mind, however, whatever way to do that. I pray. I ask God to remove it. That's what I do. Because whenever I notice negative thoughts coming into my mind, or I start thinking about people that I have unresolved things with, I just have to get my thoughts back to the present moment and not allow myself the um, luxury of negative thinking. So that's a big pile of stuff. That's what I wrote down. I think there isn't anything else. Until next time, have fun living by natural law.